Hi, it is me, Pinky Orange Girl again, and for a while I was wondering what my next video should be about, while being busy with a million other things, and since Nintendo revealed that they're working on a Zelda live action movie, I figured out what to talk about here today. But before that, make sure to like and subscribe so you know if Nintendo ends up making a Splatoon anime to know from whom they got the idea. Anyways, let's get into it. Yes, you saw it right, there are gonna be multiple seasons, at least in my own head, and each season is gonna focus on a new protagonist. Season 1 is gonna be based off Splatoon 1 in terms of the lore and story, and our protagonist is gonna be Agent 3, now with the name Iram Alak, which is backwards for calamari. Look how original I am. Anyways, she comes from a very small village far away from Megapolis named Seashell Alley with a very poor parents, as she doesn't have any siblings or grandparents and only has her parents. Foreshadowing. She lived an amazing life in there. She had fun with her parents, school was fun, she had a lot of friends. She trained in a martial arts class every day after school because she wanted to become a hero, just like in all the movies she watched growing up. I don't know how to name her parents. Before I went with Georg for her father and for her mother, Nirom, but I don't think they sound decent, so tell me in the comments how do you think they should be named. Anyways, let's continue with the backstory. So when Iram developed her human form, basically when she hit her puberty, everything went downhill. Her parents stopped paying attention to her because they finally found jobs. All of her childhood friends moved out, and even some of them stopped being friends with Iram. Then soon after, her parents lost their jobs and can't stop losing money, so Iram decided to all of them to go to Inkopolis and maybe start working new jobs. But they refused because it's too expensive for all of them to go. But they can pay for Iram to go to Inkopolis and stay in a hotel all by herself. At first, she didn't agree, but she thought of a solution. And the solution is to get money by playing turf war and help with her parents' rent. And they agreed, and she finally went to the place where she always dreamed to be in. I'm sorry for my voice, I don't know why, but I lost it. I'm not sick, just my voice is asleep. So, I'm only gonna tell you their backstories for two reasons. One, I want to give the general idea to Nintendo, and after they got the idea of the characters' backstories, they can continue the narrative however they want. And now let's move on to how I want Iram to look like, and how she will behave. Iram is a 14-year-old Inkling who is 157 centimeters or 5 feet and 1.7 inches. She has very light skin and she's white in the human race terms, and has brown eyes symbolizing how down to earth she is compared to later characters in the season, and wears the same 3 clothes every year and are for every season because she doesn't want to spend her parents' money out of genuine care for them. And this is the most important thing to note about Iram, is how unselfish she is. She cares so much about her parents that she forgets to take care of herself most of the time, and she has a very sassy attitude towards Inklings that she doesn't like. She's one of these types of main characters that they seem cold on the outside but are very sweet and caring on the inside. And yeah, I know it's a cliche, but not everything has to be totally original. And to be honest, out of all characters that we're gonna take a look at, Iram is probably the most uninteresting out of all, so I don't mind if they did change a bit about her personality. Also, I forgot to mention her primary color of her tentacles are green, just like with Marie, and keep this in mind for later. And since this anime is gonna focus a lot more on the characters and story, especially in the story modes from the games, there will be very few episodes not related to the backstories or the main story, so you'll mostly see Iram as Agent 3 more than as a regular Inkling. So hope you don't have a problem with this approach. Next season. Now this is where shit is getting interesting. Meet Agent 4, now with the name Donna Sharan. Fun fact, Sharan in Bulgarian means carp, which is a type of fish. So yeah, so I have this idea, this inkling girl with the doolies on the cover art of Splatoon 2, yeah, that one, to be Agent 4, and I'm sure no one will complain about it. I'm sure. Anyways, the most interesting thing about Donna is basically she is the opposite, the complete opposite of Iram in looks, personalities, and even lifestyles. Iram grew up in a poor village with poor parents, while Donna grew up in a small but expensive town with a rich and famous father. Iram cares so much about her parents to the point where she gets into trouble for not paying attention to herself, while Donna only cares about herself. Iram has light skin and she is 5 foot and 1.7 inches, while Donna is dark skinned. She is canonically half black and half East Asian since her father is East Asian. And she is 165 centimeters or 5 feet and 5 inches, which doesn't mean much, but you'll see why later. Since Splatoon 2 takes place 2 years after Splatoon 1, I decided to keep the timeline the same as it is in the games and in real life. Anyways, meet the sport-rich 12-year-old Donna, and why I decided to make her younger? Well, it's because I want a little bit of variety and not every agent to become an agent at the age of 14. And plus for season 4, yes, 4, I want Iram to be the oldest and the most mature in the group. So yeah, Donna is one of the very few Inklings who got her humanoid form before the age of 14, and therefore it's considered impressive for her to be as tall as she is. And out of all characters, she's gonna be the tallest one, even if Iram is the oldest. Anyways, remember when I mentioned that she has a rich and famous father? Well, his name is Hisashi Sharan, and I decided to name him after the producer of Splatoon, Hisashi Nogami. He's a very famous sports competitor and he's great at every single sport imaginable. And this is what got Donna into sports, because she admired him. The reason why they live in a town named Sea Town, again, very original name, is because Hisashi wanted to hide from all kinds of crazy fans and media and settle down from fame and only focus on playing the sports, not for fame, but for the money. Since he's rich and lives in the least expensive house in this expensive town full of only rich people, the house is looked after maids, and because of them, he raised his daughter very poorly, which led her to behave like a spoiled ass brat who wants the entire world to bow on its knees for her. Remember when I pointed out how Iram's brown eyes symbolize how down to earth is, as she doesn't have high expectations, while Donna's eyes are bright orange that reflect how many unrealistic expectations she has, as she basically has her head in the clouds. This is the most important thing you need to remember about Donna, by the way. And the last thing I will talk about for season 2, which is the actual backstory of hers. So all of her life was into sports, and she played all kinds of sports that don't require fingers to play, and when she turned 11 and got her humanoid form and developed fingers and could transform into a squid, she finally tried to play turf war, the sport she always wanted to play. She trained so much to the point where she literally skipped school for an entire month, and when her classmates figured out the reason why Donna was skipping school, she went to the principal's office with her dad and he told her that she was expelled. Yes, expelled. This upset Donna and argued with the principal, but he resisted. After the meeting outside of the school, Donna, with guilt in her eyes, looked over her father and apologized to him, and he said she shouldn't be worried about it and she can train turf war as long as she wanted. Not only will Donna have a character development, but also her father, since it is also kinda his fault of why his daughter behaves the way that she does. I won't spoil you how she's gonna learn to be a better Inkling, because you have to wait for the anime to come out, if it's ever gonna come out. I almost forgot to tell you something. Remember when I said how Irum's green tentacles resemble Marie's main color, which represents how their personalities are similar? Well, it's the same thing with Donna and Callie. Next! Now, with season 3, I decided to take a different approach. Instead of starting the season with a backstory that introduces us to the new protagonist, this season will start just like how Octo Expansion starts, with having a first-person shot of Cuttlefish, so it has this sort of feeling like you are the one who can't remember anything about yourself. You probably don't. I also decided to create a character menu as a hallucination that Agent 8 is having while Cuttlefish is reminding her how she looks, and after she remembers how she looks, we get a third-person shot of Agent 8 laying on the ground while Cuttlefish is talking to her, just like in the game. And before you get in the comments asking me, why did you make all the agents females? As a male individual, I'm unsubscribing to you. Well, I decided to make all the agents females because this is always how Nintendo portrayed them in their marketing and box art. Even in the Splatoon 2 art book, they were heavily applying that Agent 4 is female. So yeah, now let's get back into the story. I also decided to make Agent 8 for a little bit a silent protagonist. With every episode, she talks more and more, but only in her head. And I think this will reflect how shy and unfamiliar she is with the world. Almost like she was born yesterday, and also she thinks she won't be able to survive without remembering anything. She definitely had the most hallucination and panic attacks than all the other agents, especially after she met Cuttlefish, and she felt so empty because of the fact she lost all of her memories. But when she eats a meme cake and reads a poem, she begins to remember tiny parts about her memories, and she became from a shy and nervous Octolink into a confident and curious individual who wants to change the world and create peace. When she is in the metro after a mission, she will go to everyone riding the train and inspire them for the better, and she mostly changed someone named Isu Padre by him sharing his problems about not remembering everything he wants, and she will encourage him to find these memories and chase his dreams. She's probably the sweetest, the most girly, and the smartest agent in the group, as she doesn't rely on attacks as much as outsmarting her enemies, and when she doesn't like someone, she'll act nice and even nervous around them, but secretly planning to get revenge on them. Now let's talk about her looks, and to be honest, in my first initial draft of the anime, I had her be the shortest agent, but I decided our next and last new protagonist is gonna be, and you will see why. I decided to make Agent 8 brown because we need more representation of brown people, and we already have kinda a black character in our back, so yeah. I just want all agents to have different ethnicities and different backgrounds. Agent 8 will have bright blue eyes, and her tentacles will be a different shade of pink from Donna, kinda showing how similar and how different they are at the same time. And Agent 8 will be shorter than Donna, but a little bit taller than Iram, and also at the end of the season, Agent 8 will meet both Iram as herself, not as Agent 3, and Donna. She will meet Donna as her roommate, like how Nintendo decided to do it, and she will meet Iram as herself in a turf war match where she protected 8 from the enemy team. But Iram isn't going to act the same way, like in Season 1 for a mysterious reason. She will be edgy and never smile. I know I said she's gonna be a cold on the outside in the first season, but only in the beginning, and only when she was struggling in Inkopolis. But now she acts like this permanently, even in Season 4, because a major tragedy event happened that will change her life forever. Now with the new Agent 3 backstory was probably the one I changed the most. I would change it every time I wasn't satisfied with it or there was something that didn't make a whole lot of sense. From multiple rewritings, I eventually decided on this. Meet New Agent 3, aka Imutuika Nagasa. Yes, this one. Now, you're probably asking yourself, wait, doesn't Imoto mean younger sister in Japanese and why is her last name Nagasa? Well, since she grew up in a very religious family because religious families also need representation, full of octolings, with religious families in Splatsville, they always tend to name their kids based on their roles in the family, and when they get a new role, they should change it to match their current state. Because Imotuika has many older siblings, 4 sisters and 5 brothers, making her the youngest at the age of 15, and she grew up in a family of octolings, and since she is the only inkling in there, they didn't just call her Imoto, they called her Imotuika. Ika in Japanese means squid, by the way. Her last name is Nagasa, which means length in Japanese, and it's because how religious families judge somebody's age and state in power by the length of their tentacles. If you have short tentacles, then you shouldn't get a job and work hard. But if you have long tentacles, then you can earn money on your own. The longer tentacles, the more successful you are. Fuimutuika's entire life had short tentacles similar to these of Donna, but before she turned 14 and already had her humanoid form, she wanted to have long tentacles, but in a religious family like in hers, you wasn't allowed to have long tentacles unless she's a hard-working individual who earns her own money. So she decided to get a job. And from then, she got many jobs that she works at the same time. I'm not gonna spoil you what jobs she's working, but I will tell you one of them, and one of her jobs is to be an influencer. Kinda like me. And yes, I made a self-insert here, but only in some areas. You would think Emotuika's life will be better than ever because she has long tentacles and earns decent amount of money, and who do you think you are to think there isn't gonna be a conflict, huh? She feels like something is missing from her life. She doesn't know what it is, but there's some sort of dissatisfaction that she feels. So she decided to move out herself in a new area in Splatsville, and even if in religious families it's not allowed to move out unless you're above the age of 30, they still respected her decision because they want her to have a happy life and even befriend somebody, since the area where they live isn't very populated with younger inklings and octolings. When Imutuika finally moved out, she realized she has to take care of the house on her own and work at the same time. So her oldest sister, Chojo, decided to visit her to help her with the house while Imutuika was working her million jobs. After Chojo left her and came back at the family's house, Imutuika had to take care of the house again. Later on, she will find a new job that you're totally familiar with. I'm not gonna say which one. Anyways, let's talk about her design. So I decided to make her the shortest agent because this will show us how inexperienced she is compared to the others, and is also the youngest. She will have a little bit of tan from her family and have yellow eyes, while her family consists of light skins and blue or green eyes, to show how she feels out of place. And one of the reasons she wanted to move out is because to find a place where she belongs. If you're wondering if she will meet the other agents, well, yes, but I'm not going to tell you how and when they will meet. Next! Yes, there are gonna be 5 seasons of this anime if it ever comes out. And the 5th season is gonna be based on Side Order, which still didn't come out, so that's it. Before the video ends, I will show you something. Okay, so this is the letter that I'm gonna send to Nintendo about the Splatoon anime adaptation, because yes, I am actually requesting them. It's not just, oh yeah, that's a little fun YouTube video idea. No, I'm actually seriously considering to tell them that I need this in my life. So yeah, I'm gonna end it. I can't believe. Yeah, I already sent this letter before I finished the script. Lol. Anyways, thank you for watching.